Hello, and welcome to the Monster Painter. This week I turned this toy I got at the thrift store into a piece of Frostgrave Terrain. So what do we have here for our hard-earned $2? It's a very solid hard plastic toy, part of some larger playset probably. And it is very well suited for tabletop gaming. You could plunk this down and get away with it straight without any modifications. And with a little work, this is going to be one dandy piece of terrain. And oh look, Playmobil, the king of toys suited for tabletop conversions. The first step is to get rid of the price sticker and the accent stickers. I'm just going to squirt a little bit of lighter fluid on them to soften up the glue and then peel them off, lickety-split. Now, this thing is kind of an awesome toy and was clearly well loved, which is to say it's a bit grimy. So I'm going to use some very advanced technology to remove that grimy patina and get this beautiful thing ready for the next step. And that next step is to remove these plastic nubbies off the top of the toy. They likely held a tower or some other long-lost part of the playset in place, but for our purposes they detract from the overall look, so off they go. Now, while this toy is a nice, rigid, hard plastic, these things come off pretty easily with the snips. Next, I will clean up the remainder with my utility knife. I'm always mindful not to cut my thumb open when I work with a utility knife because they're sharp and dangerous. I will remove as much plastic as I can, including the stuff in the spots where the stones fit together, giving it a nice look, and then it'll be off to the next step. So I have kneaded up a small lump of milliput. I'm going to use it to fill in this little mark here that appears to be the injection point for the plastic toy. I'm also going to use it to fill in this troublesome looking hole on the side here. And with that complete, the toy is ready for the fun part, priming and painting her up. She's all primed up white with a nice generous coat of acrylic gesso, and now I will be laying down a base coat of dark gray on all the stone parts. The dark gray is a mixture of Payne's gray with a little bit of titanium white, and it's the perfect color for basing ruined stone buildings. After applying a second base coat, I get to the first layer of dry brushing. I use a mixture of Payne's gray and unbleached titanium, which is a little warmer than the base coat color and will help with the overall look of the piece. Then another layer of dry brushing with a yet lighter gray mixture, and I handle the brush with a lighter touch. And this is all in order to build up and bring out the features of the piece. The next step is very important. I'm going to use a very light mixture of gray and carefully highlight all the edges of the stone structure. This will highlight the sculptural forms of the piece and help to make the whole thing pop when it's on the tabletop. Now I'm going to deal with that trapdoor thingy. I will start with a base coat of iron oxide red, and that will begin my standard rusty old metal treatment for this piece of rusty old metal. While that red dries, I'm going to start the single most time-consuming part of the project, painting the base coat on the ice. It really has to be done neat and tidy if I'm going to pull this off and make this a compelling piece of terrain. And I promised Frostgrave Terrain, and this is where I deliver. For all those who don't know, Frostgrave is a skirmish game that takes place in an ancient wizard city that was ruined by a cataclysmic ice storm brought on by imprudent magic. So everything is icy. Now, Frostgrave is easily my favorite game, and most of my projects are dedicated to it. That being said, I don't normally go for the full-on ice and snow thematic look for my terrain pieces. I prefer to imagine the adventurers exploring the city of Old Falstaff during its brief summer time. That way I don't have to deal with the mess of adding snow to everything and all the terrain pieces aren't locked into the thematics of Frostgrave specifically and could be used for other games. However, the forums of this toy begged for the full-on ice and snow treatment, so how could I resist giving it the big Frostgrave look? And this thing is truly perfect for Frostgrave, as well as being a solidly built, fun-filled toy. It's got me wondering if those wargaming parents out there ever buy their children toys with the knowledge that in a couple of years the kids will grow out of it and they can seize it and repurpose it for the tabletop. If you ever have done this, please leave a comment in the comment section below, because I'm kind of curious if anyone ever does this. Back to the trap door. I give it a good dry brushing of a mixture of pearl white and Payne's gray. This will move it along on the rusty old metal look that I am going for. In the next step, I dry brush a light blue mixture onto the teal base coat of the ice. Again, this will make the ice pop, make it look more frozen, and give the overall piece more interest. This is also where I stop filming the project because I have to go meet up with my mom and take her out for dinner and a movie for Mother's Day. After getting home, I add some very light blue edge highlights to the ice. I did a bunch of touch-ups. I added a black wash to the trapdoor and select parts of the stonework. All done off screen because I was tired and I really needed to get this thing done. And here it is in its final form. I am quite pleased. It has become a tactically interesting, full-on thematic piece of Frostgrave Terrain. And although the paint on the trapdoor won't let it close anymore, I kind of like it open, so that's okay. I am super happy with this completed project. Here it is in its natural habitat at the center of a desperate struggle for treasure in the frozen city of Felstad. And look at how well proportioned this thing is for 28mm gaming. All sorts of spots for the soldiers to fight on, and it's just perfect. I can even add more ruins to it to make it look like a more interesting piece of tabletop terrain. Next week on The Monster Painter, I make museum display cases because Maze of Malachor. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell. Ring the bell!
You are watching Les the Monster Painter.